Welcome to Issues of Contemporary Politics with Dr. Brovkin.
Today, we are going to be discussing President Trump's new plan to make America great again, starting with immigration and then moving on to dismantling the deep state. Then we're going to move on to the economy and lastly discuss Trump's plan on establishing peace in the Middle East and in Ukraine.
Yes, indeed, you're absolutely right. These 4 points seem to be the core of his agenda of what he calls Make America Great Again. And in order to make sense of it, what I think we should do today is try to present um, points and counterpoints. Those points that he believes could be accomplished in all of these four areas, and some of the skepticism and some of the critique of the possibility of accomplishing them. And that way, we should be able to see better whether Trump will be or will not be successful.
Yes, and everyone knows that Trump has repeatedly said that immigration remains his number one concern, with his border czar Tom Homan stating that mass deportations will start on day one. And however, there have been several critics who pointed out the logistical issues on carrying out deportations on such a mass scale.
Yes, indeed. The problem with deportations, I don't doubt that Trump is very serious about it. And I don't doubt that he's going to finish the wall as he had promised back in 2016. What I do doubt is that it would be an easy road. And the reason for that is the American legal system. As we all know, as soon as a person comes to the United States, just steps with one foot after crossing Rio Grande or passing through the gates, is that he has a right to apply for asylum. And what Trump himself puts the capture and release program is that they are detained by the border guards and then they're given a piece of paper to fill out the application and then they're let go. And that's why, according to latest statistics, during the 4 years of Biden, there are 14 or 15 million illegal aliens. Now, that means that you have to change the law. Other than just physically rounding them up, which would be difficult because they'll be hiding and deporting them, you have to change the law, and that's going to be a big challenge. A law that defines differently the rights of those who had come illegally to the United States. The second issue, what will be a big problem, is that the Democratic Party media is going to scream about poor babies separated from their parents. They're going to do everything to discredit this program because they want immigrants as their future voters. And the third and the most important difficulty that Trump must actually address, and I don't think he has so far, is the issue that a large part of these illegal immigrants are needed for the American economy. As we all know, the housing sector is virtually completely run by illegal aliens that come from the border and work for less. If you remove them, then housing costs are going to rise as they are already too high, and there's a sort of a stalemate in the housing market. The same could be called of agriculture. As we all know, the peach pickers in California are mostly illegal aliens that work for a very low wage. If you remove them, then the prices of agricultural products are going to rise, and Trump supporters are not going to like it. So these are briefly the kind of pitfalls I find in the program to tackle illegal immigration.
Yeah, these are some legitimate concerns which we hope his team are going to try to figure out a solution to. But moving on to question number two, Trump's second biggest concern was dismantling the deep state. I feel like it's very personal to him because a lot of the institutions were weaponized against him when they tried to put him in jail and slap a lot of hefty fines on him. And as we have seen in the recent weeks, Trump has been appointing several interesting profiled individuals to run some of these government agencies. And what is your take on that?
You're absolutely right. Trump is very serious, absolutely serious. It's probably uh, equally important, or maybe the most important agenda item for Trump is the reform of the deep state, or as he calls it, drain the swamp. But again, if we look at the first 4 years of Trump in power, he couldn't do it. They basically paralyzed any of his action, and they ignored his decisions when he tried to limit immigration of persons from Muslim countries. Some kind of judge in some kind of weird state, like in the middle of nowhere, could pass a resolution that would block the president of the United States. In other words, the legal system is set up that makes extremely difficult any action, especially about reforming the system itself. Obviously, President Trump has great concerns about the way the elections were run, especially in 2020. Uh, he's going to have an uphill battle to change the procedures because it's up to the states. He's going to have a great resistance in the established bureaucracies. I remember very well that when he was in his first term, he came to the CIA and gave a famous speech about the columns. The columns, he was saying, and he was implying indeed about the fifth column, which is a euphemism for traitors or for people who are on the other side, who don't work for you. So, to reform these bureaucracies like FBI and CIA and the Pentagon is extremely difficult. Uh, he hopes he will succeed, and we all do that. Hope that he will be able to change this stale bureaucracy into something that does do its job properly. However, again, I am among those who are skeptical to what extent he will be able to change much in the way American system of government works.
Yeah, I just want to add really quickly that one of the main differences versus his previous term is that this time around he has several businessmen, key figures like Elon Musk on his team who have a great experience in running companies and who want to help him establish the government efficiency almost as if the United States was a massive corporation.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Moreover, I would add that this time around, Trump has nothing to lose. These are his last 4 years, and what he really cares about is his legacy and what's going to happen after him. And he obviously hopes that the Republican Party would stay in power. And that Vance would be elected. And that means that some serious progress has to be done on the elections or the transparency of elections to prevent any fraud. And also on the efficiency. And again, I have great respect for Elon Musk and wish him success. But again, it would be very difficult to force transparency in an institution like Pentagon that hasn't had an audit in years. And then Ukrainian government with its billions that sank God knows for which foreign accounts. But again, wish him luck and hope that they will be able to accomplish as much as they can.
Yeah, and moving on to question number three is the economy and President Trump's plan for economic reform. He has repeatedly said that countries that have tariffs on US goods, namely like India and some of the Chinese companies, that he wants to do a reciprocal tariff or 50 or 100% in hopes of bringing back manufacturing to the United States. To what degree do you think this is doable, or is this plan completely unrealistic?
Yeah, this is actually, I think, the most difficult part to implement, and here's why. The problem with tariffs is that they're very, very effective if you have a nascent, growing industry in your own country that you want to protect against foreign competition. In other words, it's effective when you already have it. Like, for example, the computer industry during early 2000s, when there was a kind of a breakthrough with innovation, and American industry could be protected from foreign competition. That's not the case now. The case now is that American industry is almost all gone. We have just seen a few days ago announcement that U.S. Steel is up for sale. Why? Because it's not efficient. It cannot compete with the South Korean or Brazilian or Chinese or even Russian, which is cheaper and better. In some cases better, in some cases just cheaper. So the problem is that in order to for the tariffs to work, you have to have an industry to be protected. When there is no industry, then it's very hard to protect it. And the since a lot of manufacturers manufacturing goods are imported from China, creating just the tariffs is not good enough. This is a second step. First, you have to have the industry already there. And in that sense, it's extremely difficult to feel to judge that introduction of tariffs in and of themselves would be sufficient to create the kind of technological breakthrough that Trump is dreaming about. But I wanted to ask you, in this sense, to what extent do you think Musk's initiatives in AI and robotics is that something that could indeed be a promising beginning for restructuring of American economy?
Yes, I do think that a lot of the innovation is still happening in the United States. Maybe not as much as in the 70s and 60s when there was a lot of the breakthroughs only in the United States. Obviously, some countries like China are and Japan are catching up, but a lot of the innovation is still taking place with SpaceX and Tesla and a new computer chip that Microsoft unveiled a week ago. And looking from that sense and from the sense of AI, maybe there is some logic in protecting American industry from foreign interests.
Yes, I agree with you completely, and I would add the following: that to judge overall the success or failure of President Trump would depend on this item more than anything else. It is whether the United States would be able to launch a new reindustrialization that would make it a new industrial power as it used to be. This is why the expression great again meaning that it was like that in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s into the 90s. And then the slowdown came when the United States chose to do the financial transactions following the British rather than the manufacturing economy, as was the choice of the Germans. So now the question is whether it is too late or whether it is doable. And I don't think there's anybody who has a clear-cut answer. But the what is absolutely obvious is that if he and Musk succeed in this, then there are very good chances that the overall program of making America great again will work, and we shall see. But now let's move to the fourth segment of our discussion, and that is the war and peace issues.
Yes, so I feel like Trump has said that the domestic issues stay and remain his top priority, but this is also something he would like to have accomplished because it would stay in his legacy as a peacemaker. And in his first term, he started the Abraham Accords, which he's really proud of. And again, there's another war in the Middle East, and I feel like he would find a solution if he could to bring peace between Israel and Palestine.
Yes, as far as Israel and Palestine issue is concerned, uh, as we all know, in the media there's a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen, and a lot of people, many observers, actually feel as if Trump is in the pocket of Netanyahu and that he is going to do what the Israeli establishment wants him to. I tend to differ on this. I think again that Trump is his own man. He is not in anybody's pocket. And indeed, he has shown to the Israelis and to the Israeli people and to the Israeli leadership that he has done more for Israel than anybody had ever done. And that puts him in a unique position to actually restrain Netanyahu and say, just wait a second, we're not going to go that far that fast. In other words, it gives him a kind of a negotiating platform that nobody can accuse Trump of not supporting Israel enough. He has demonstrated that he has supported. That gives him a leverage over Israel in order to move it gently towards accepting a peace settlement with the Palestinians, and most importantly, to avoid a war with Iran. I mean, that is probably the most dangerous issue. We all know that Netanyahu is trigger happy to start this war, and it would require the skill, which I think Trump has, and the patience and the statesmanship on the part of Trump to resolve this issue without igniting a war with Iran.
Yeah, and lastly, Trump also kept promising that he would be able to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine. He has repeatedly said that he would do that within 24 hours of being sworn into office. But now, as of late, it seems that he realizes that it's a much more complex issue and it's not as easy to solve as he initially thought.
Yes, indeed. In this issue too, there are two exactly opposite points of view in the observers that I listen to. Some believe that it is quite possible that if there is a will, and there seems to be a will of President Trump and President Putin to sit down and work out a deal, and the contours of the deal are sort of visible. It's pretty much no for NATO uh, membership of Ukraine, and then some kind of compromise on the territories, and that seems to be doable. So this is why the optimists feel that it could be done. And I actually, in previous videos, suggested something along these lines. However, there are very serious obstacles, and these obstacles are not easy to overcome. The first obstacle is Zelensky, who continues to refuse to acknowledge any negotiations with the Russians. A second obstacle is that in order to sign something valuable on the part of Ukraine, there has to be a legitimate president. And in order to do that, you have to have new elections. And to have elections is extremely difficult because millions of Ukrainians live abroad. And how do you count their votes? And who is going to be the candidate? And who is going to be allowed to be a candidate? So these are all kinds of pitfalls that one has to overcome in order to have a semblance of legitimacy over the signature of Ukraine. Then there are problems with the Europeans because there's some in Northern Europe, we all know, that are, gang ho to support Johnson, Boris, and others in Finland and Baltic countries and Poland and France. And there are many who want to support Ukraine in its what they believe fight against Russian aggression. And then there is the other half of Europe with Orban and Fisk of Slovakia and the courts of Austria and other countries in the south of Europe who are genuinely interested in finding a negotiated settlement. So anybody could sabotage an agreement at any time and throw in a wrench to make it impossible. So this is why I think just the will of Trump and Putin is not enough. There has to be a kind of an international structure, a kind of a forum, an international conference, in order for the lasting peace to be achieved. I don't think it's impossible, but it is very difficult, and it's going to be an uphill battle, and far from sure is that it's going to work.
Yeah, so nobody knows what's going to happen, but one thing is clear, and that is that Trump is going to have road bumps every step along the way in both domestic and foreign issues. And thank you for having me, Dr. Brovkin, and it was a pleasure talking about President Trump.
And I hope so much that you will subscribe to this channel and leave your comments, and we shall see what you think about the chances of Make America Great Again work. Thank you, and until next time.